Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Hey guys, how is everyone? I hope everyone's doing good. This is actually my second podcast recording of the day. I just recorded a really amazing episode with an old client of mine, which I can't wait for you guys to hear, but she was a coaching client of mine last year, and you will not believe where she ended up and how we both ended up working together again. But anyway, that's for the other episode. Today, I want to talk about a comment that was in the media quite a little while ago where Molly Mae from Love Island had said, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And people got in their feelings. There was uproar. People just came for her. Firstly, I don't condone any kind of bullying. I don't care if you don't agree with someone's opinion. There is a way of dealing with people. She wasn't the first person to say it, and she won't be the last. There are so many men that have said that. Floyd Mayweather, Dr. Drake, like so many famous men have said that comment, and no one came for them the way they came for her. So first I just want to talk about that, the gender bias. But I do understand why people came for her. I get it. So I just wanted to talk about my 2 cents, my opinion on do we all have the same 24 hours? And the answer is obviously not. But then the answer is also, well, yeah, technically, we have the same 24 hours. When you wake up and God breathes breath into you and gives you life each day, you have the same amount of hours as everyone else. It's not like people in England only get 22 hours and then people in another country get 24 hours. That's not the case. Technically, we all have the same 24 hours, but realistically, we don't all have the same 24 hours because what we have to do during those 24 hours differs. But before I jump into that, what I want to do is I want to dedicate this episode to my best friend. It is her birthday this week. Her name is Akosia. I love you. We have been friends for over 25 years. And she doesn't even know that I'm doing this right now, but this week has been quite challenging for me. I feel like I've been pulled in different directions from everyone in my life. I feel like everyone in my life needs something, whether that's my mum, my partner, my work, my business partner. Everyone has expects from me, and I'm always the fixer. I fix everything for everyone. I'm always the problem solver. It's naturally a skill that I'm good at, but no one ever thinks to ask me, do I have anything that I need solving? Do I need help? Do I need a break? They're too busy asking me what I can do for them. They're too busy expecting things. And that has been very grating this week. And then I remembered my best friend, and this is how she ties into it. My best friend works full time and has 5 children. Her youngest is 2 and is soon to be 3, and she is in her 30s. And I have watched her raise those babies. For a long time, her husband lived overseas. So the first 3 kids, she was a single mum here on her own, raising those kids, taking them to school and going to work, just doing her thing. And now her husband's here, but he works. So he doesn't help with the childcare. She has to make sure the kids are taken care of, kids are dropped off, kids are picked up. She has to go to work full time. She works at least, I think her work's about 45 minutes to an hour away from where she lives. She is an absolute superhero. But then it got me thinking about this whole, do we have the same 24 hours? Obviously, if I think of my best friend, 5 kids running around like a crazy person, I have so much respect for her. I don't know how she does it. Me just being overwhelmed with other people in my life. Imagine her having all the same things I have, like having to deal with your parents, having to deal with your partner, like her husband, having to deal with all of that, having to deal with 5 kids and also a full-time job. Listen, she's getting pulled in every direction and somehow she makes it look like nothing. She is like a swan. You know how swans on the surface move really slowly, but if you look under the water, their feet are going really quickly? That's how I feel like she must be. If you were to talk to her, she is the calmest, most chilled. She can pour into you even after pouring into all those people. Even after all those people wanting something from her, she can still manage to put a smile on other people's face. So I want to talk about, like, if I thought of myself, like, my 24 hours are very different from her 24 hours. I don't have a load of kids to drop off. My daughter gets on the school bus by herself. She's almost 16. Like, she handles her business. I don't have much to do when it comes to those things. I don't have to do the school run anymore. But I did. I've been a single mum since my daughter was 3. So I've had to do the school run and all that, and then go to a full-time job and do all of that. I was always a working mum. I've been working since she was like 7 months. I went back to work, and that was my choice. And that's why I think talking about these 24 hours is really important, because before you jump on someone, we have to think of like, is the comparison fair? And if you think about someone not living in a first world country, we all live here in the UK. Most people that are listening, a lot of you are in the US, but a lot of us live in first world countries. And if you don't live in a first world country, or you live, for instance, in a war torn country, obviously your 24 hours are going to be spent just trying to stay alive, are going to be spent looking out for yourself and your loved ones, trying to eat, trying to do whatever you need to do to get through the day. You are not going to care about starting a business, changing career, because that's not in your realm of thought. So your 24 hours are literally dealt with totally different to mine. But when I think about people who live here, where I live, in a first world country, do I think we all have the same 24 hours? No. But do I think we all have choice? Yes. Do I think there are things in this world that make discrepancies in that choice? Yes. I heard a lot of people talking about pretty privilege and white privilege, and if you're a woman of colour, things being harder, and if you're just I heard a lot of things why people were upset. I heard people saying things like, well, if you're a single mum or you've got 2 kids, of course you don't have the same 24 hours in the day. How about I was a single mum, I am a single mum, but I could have chose celibacy. My 24 hours each day before I became a mum, before I went down that road, I could have chose celibacy. There are people in this world that cannot choose whether they become parents because they're abused or they're taken advantage of. There are people that cannot choose whether or not they're married off early. But a lot of us have a lot of choice and a lot of freedom, and we don't use it to the best of our abilities. And that is why we feel triggered when someone else says that we all have the same 24 hours. That statement could never trigger me because I stand on my choices 10 toes down. I have been able to choose to become a mum because I didn't choose celibacy. If I had chose celibacy, I might have chosen a different path. I might have been focused on other things. I might have built a £1 million business. Who knows? But I didn't choose that. A lot of us are upset with other people because we're not happy with our own choices, and then we put it on other people. I hear this statement all the time. I can't because I'm a mum. How about you can in spite of being a single mum? A lot of things I've achieved, I've done it in spite of being a single mum. Being a single mum didn't stop me, it just made it harder. It meant I had to choose the harder decision. There are women that say to me, I can't work full time because I have children. I've just given you the example of my best friend who I absolutely love. I'm going to say it again because Akosia, you are the OG, because if I had 5 kids, I was not going to be working full time. Let me just tell you that right now. But again, that would be my choice. I don't know how she physically does it, but she goes to work. But I'll tell you why it's a choice. Because if you choose to stay at home, I know how hard that is. It's hard being a stay-at-home mum. That is a full-time job, but it's a choice. So don't say the reason you're a stay-at-home mum is because you can't work because you have kids. No, it's because you don't want to, and that's okay. And I think that's my point. My point is own your choices. If your choice is to be a stay-at-home mum, be proud of that. That wasn't my choice because for me, that wasn't the best for me. Staying at home wasn't the best for me. To be honest, being at home and being on benefits meant I was £150 better off staying at home. But I still chose to go to work and be £150 worse off. 2 reasons. I knew that that wasn't going to last forever because I had a plan and I was going to make sure I got paid better. But also, being at home was starting to stress me out. I needed outside influence. I've worked since I was 16. It started to drain me. For me to be the best mum I can be, I needed to be in work and be at home. That was just what worked for me. So if there are women listening to this, and for you to be the best mum you can be, you need to not work full time or not work at all. Own that choice. There is power in owning your choices. There is power in not blaming your situation for why you can't do something. I speak to people all the time that tell me I don't have time, but you had time to watch 3 Netflix series. It was a choice. You could have chose to work on your business. You could have chose strategies to apply for jobs to change your situation. You could have, but you chose not to. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. Choose what makes you happy. If sitting around watching the Netflix series made you happy, own it. Because I'm telling you, when I don't do the things I'm supposed to do. I'm not going to tell you I didn't have time. I'm going to tell you I didn't feel like it. I was lazy last week and I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like doing nothing, so I didn't. I sat on the sofa, ate cake and watched TV, and I will own every second of it. And that's where the problem lies. People aren't willing to own their stuff. And when you don't own your stuff, you become vulnerable and you become open to criticism and you become open to feeling less than. A lot of people straight away said, let's not be silly. People that have a private jet and then people that have a car don't have the same 24 hours. If you have a car and the other person doesn't, we don't have the same 24 hours. No one gave me the car. I chose to do that. I chose to do driving lessons. I chose to get the car. I chose to work a job that paid me enough so I could afford a car. That was a choice. The 24 hours leading up to where you are now were all choices that you made. Like I said, there are a lot of people in this world that cannot. The choice has been taken away from them. So when people that have so many choices and so many advantages sit around saying, oh, but I can't because of this, it gets frustrating. I have family that live in third world countries that really can't choose some of the things I get to choose. We live in a world that isn't fair. I grew up in a predominantly white area as one black girl. So you can imagine, I grew up in the 80s. I dealt with racism. I know how that feels. I'm not saying these things do not exist. These things are huge. But what I am saying is that my mum grew up with even worse than I grew up with. I went into companies, I've worked with massive corporate companies, and I was the only person in the room who looked like me. Literally. And I've got friends who are like, I would never do that. I'm never going to be in a building where I'm the only person that looks like me. Fair enough. I chose to be the only person in that building. I chose to work my way up and get to the top. And I chose to then bring in more diversity. They weren't always people that looked exactly like me, but they were diverse. I decided to bring diversity into the room, whether that was when I was in female-dominated businesses and I hired men, whether that was hiring people that looked just like me and giving them an opportunity, whatever it was, I've been in rooms where I have felt intimidated because of the colour of my skin. I've been in rooms where I've been treated differently because of the colour of my skin. Even if we don't talk about skin, there's things like pretty privilege. Do you know how many people get a pass because they're cute? Do you know how many people, because you're pretty, people will give you things because you're society's definition of pretty, because your society's definition of what you should look like. I was talking to someone recently because I was talking about the fact that I'm always conscious of how my hair is when I go to certain interviews, and I have been most of my life, because I know that people will judge me as a woman of colour going in there with my natural hair because it's seen as unprofessional. My natural hair is not unprofessional, but that is how the world has taught me to view myself. So I understand when people got their back up, but I want people to stop for a minute and think, yes, there are things that can hold you back. It could be your gender. Being a woman is already hard. It could be your colour. That could make it hard for you. But you can still make choices that lead you to greatness. Think of all the amazing Black women that have built lives for themselves. Think of Beyonce, Lupita, Elsa. If you follow Elsa on Instagram, I can never say her name, Majimbo on Instagram. Elsa, anyway, I'll just say Elsa. She's lovely. But she made a name for herself, especially in the pandemic. She was just recording random videos. Black woman, did her thing, got there. Laura Lyles, she's a life coach. You might not know her. Black woman, did her thing. So are we going to say that, okay, so once you take away the playing field and we say, well, someone else can get ahead because they're pretty or someone else can get ahead because they're white, then what happens when people who look just like you are now getting ahead but you're not? What's your excuse now? There will always be an excuse. And the reason there'll be an excuse is because you have decided that you are at a disadvantage. You have decided that the choices you've made in life have put you in a disadvantage. You're not at a disadvantage. You just decided to use your 24 hours differently to the other women who look like you, differently to the other women who live in a first world country and have first world opportunities. All choice. It's got nothing to do with the 24 hours. It's got to do with how you chose to use them. Especially living in a first world country, especially not having to worry about walking out of your house and there being war and there being famine and there being all these things. And just something as simple as in the UK, we get free education up to the age of 19. Free. My family back home in Jamaica, they pay for school. So if you can't afford to send your kids to school, education stops. My mum was only educated up to a certain age because they couldn't afford it. She still managed to come to England as an immigrant, make a life for herself, get a mortgage, handle her business, and put her daughter in a position to be able to build an amazing life. So she could sit there and say, well, I was an immigrant, I'm not educated. There is always an excuse, there is always a reason. When you look at it and you really think on a bigger picture, do we all have the same 24 hours? Don't compare yourself to people in third world countries. As a woman living in a first world country, do you have the same 24 hours as someone else? And how have you chosen to use those 24 hours to get to where you've got to? If you are not happy with the choices you make, you get to change them. But if someone can trigger you just from saying that statement, it means more about you than it does about her. Her belief is that everybody has the same 24 hours. She may have been a little tone deaf in her understanding and her delivery, but why is that so offensive? Someone like Dr. Dre, who came from nothing, came from poverty, came from the ghetto, and became a millionaire. So what, he didn't have the same 24 hours? Someone like me, who I literally grew up poor. Like, there were nights when we didn't have enough food at home. I don't know that life no more. My daughter has never known that life. My daughter's traveling more than a lot of adults. You don't hear me say it all the time. She's a little spoiled. I love her, but she's out here. She's about to be 16 this year. She wants a prom dress, we go get a prom dress. She wants to go on holiday, we go on holiday. Like, she doesn't know that life. She's a middle class kid. I was not a middle class kid. I grew up working class. Like, that's the life I knew. Struggle. For a long time, I didn't know we were poor until I got to a certain age, and then I realized we poor, but it's okay. We still had a roof over our head. So as poor as I might say I am, I still had a roof over my head. I wasn't homeless. Yeah, there were nights where there wasn't enough food, but I wasn't homeless. Everyone has struggles. There are people so much worse off than me, so much worse off than so many of you listening to this, and will still end up coming good and doing more than even I will ever do in my lifetime. How does that happen? Because their focus isn't on other people and comparison. They're not worrying about, do I have the same 24 hours? No one cares. They're not worrying about that. They're worrying about, with the time I've got and with the hand I've been dealt, what am I able to achieve? So shift your focus. Keep shifting your focus. Technically, we have the same 24 hours. Realistically, we don't, because we all have chosen different paths and different things. A single mum with one child is going to struggle more than maybe just a single woman with no children. A single woman with 3 kids is going to struggle more than a single mum with 1 kid. I take my hat off to my bestie, 5 kids working full time. A lot of people would say, like, I can't do it. And that's right there. Right there is why you wouldn't have the things you have, because you're not willing to do what a lot of people have been willing to do to get to where they are. You might want the success, you might want the money, you might want the private jet, but you're not willing to do what it takes to get it. And that's okay, as long as you don't complain about it. We're not all willing to do what it takes. It's as simple as that. We're not all willing to shift our focus. I definitely don't know how my best friend does it with 5 kids. I can't understand it. Her 1 week shopping bill is like 1 month or 6 weeks shopping bill for me. What I spend in a month on shopping, she will spend in a week, literally one shop. In one day, I will see her shopping bill and be like, no, that's how much you spend on food in a week. Imagine she's got to feed her husband, and 5 kids. I just got to feed me and my daughter, and sometimes my mum. I'm good. And that's hard. That comes stressful sometimes. My daughter recently got a tutor. That's another bill that I'm paying because I want her to have the best opportunities. My mum could have never afforded for me to have a tutor. Tutor what? I was my own tutor. Who remembers encyclopedias? I used to read encyclopedias every night to learn. I'm a proper 80s kid. There are women who look just like you. There are women who look different from you. But there are women who started off where you started off and are further along than you are in places that you want to be. Instead of comparing yourself, look at them and know that it's possible. They did the hard work. They might have sacrificed. You don't see the blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of you aren't willing to do what it takes or make the choices that need to be made to have the things that you say that you want. Stay focused on what you're choosing, not how many hours of the day you have. What are you choosing during those hours? There's always a way, but sometimes it's about pushing through. I worked my 9 to 5. My daughter was maybe 5 or 6, and I started a business. For anyone who doesn't know, I have another business. I run a first aid company, and I have since 2013. My daughter was young and I had to study to be able to do that. So I was studying, I did 2 years of studying while working. Because to be able to be a first aid trainer, you've got to do your teacher training and then learn your first aid. So I had to qualify. I had to do that for 2 years because I knew I wanted my business. That meant going to work full time, because I was working full time then. I was working 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. It meant having to pay people to help me with my daughter extra. It meant having to study at night when my daughter was asleep so that I could get it done. I lived on a lot of Red Bull, and it wasn't the first time. Because when I first ever got a job when my daughter was 18 months and I decided I wanted to work in the city because I wanted to make a lot of money really quickly, I had to pay a childminder, I had to pay a nursery, and I had to find the money to do all of that. So I had to find a job that was paying me more so I could do that because I knew what I wanted long term. And a lot of mums would say, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to leave my 18-month-year-old. I want to be there every step of the way. My daughter doesn't remember any of that. She don't remember me not being there. How many of you remember when you were 2, 3 years old? Come on, let's be honest. My daughter doesn't remember any of it. She remembers going on the holidays when she was young. She remembers Disneyland for her birthday when she was 4. She remembers certain things. She remembers events, but she doesn't remember being 18 months and hardly seeing me. I used to feel so guilty because when I changed careers, she was only like 18 months and I decided I wanted to get into recruitment and HR. The only person that was willing to give me opportunity was in central London. So that's where I had to go and work. I was waking my baby up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get her dressed and ready and take her to a childminder. And I was literally living on Red Bull and prayer to get me through the day. But I had made a decision that I was only going to do that for 2 years. I was going to make enough money in those 2 years and then I was going to shift my focus. A lot of people wouldn't have been willing to do what I did, but would want what I have. And this is the problem. You want what you see. You want the nice house, the nice car. You want the easy life. You want the freedom, but you don't want to put in the work to get there. There are things I'm not willing to do, but there's stuff I want. And when I look at it, I think to myself, okay, am I willing to do it? No, I'm not. So it's not for you right now, Adele. You know what it takes to get those things, Adele. So if you're not willing to do it right now, then it's not for you right now. You'll either find another way of getting it or it'll take a bit longer to get there because you're not willing to do certain things. And that's okay. I feel like people sometimes think like, oh my gosh, if you're not willing to do it, then you're being condemned. Why? Why do you have to be condemned? Be content. You're not willing to do it. You don't have to be willing to do it. There's nothing in life you have to do. If you don't want to do it, then don't. But don't be upset when you see other people achieving it. Don't be jealous. Don't compare yourself. You cannot compare yourself to someone who's willing to do the things that you're not willing to do. You cannot compare yourself to someone who's not in the same situation as you. And I get it. People listening are going to say, well, that's exactly what she did. She said everyone has the same 24 hours. So she's comparing herself. No. She's talking to her people that are just like her, who are young and want to be influencers or who would be willing to apply and go on Love Island. Like, I would never apply to go on Love Island. Ever. That's not my thing. So I'm saying she's talking to people like they have the same 24 hours. And yes, they do. They might have the same opportunities that aren't afforded to someone like me or someone like you that might be listening, opportunities that someone like me and you may never have come across. And not just because I'm a Black woman, but also because I'm a woman, full stop. Men have way more privilege in this world than we do, way more privilege in this world than we do. And they use that to their advantage. How many of us have looked at the fact that we live in a first world country, but we seem to have all these problems and we can't ever make it and we've got all these excuses and we've got all these reasons and all these issues and never thought, like, imagine we lived in a third world country. Imagine we really lived it. Like, imagine we really was going through it. Imagine we really knew what that life was. Just for a second, just imagine. So even if you have or don't have the same 24 hours, how are you choosing to use the hours you do have? What are you willing to do to make your dreams a reality? And if the answer to that question is, oh, I'm not willing to kill myself, I'm not willing to like work late and do all the extra, that's okay. Then don't. I was willing to literally live on Red Bull for 2 years to have the life I literally have now. That's what I was willing to. I was literally willing to. It was all or nothing for me in that time. I don't know if I could do that again though, but I was willing. I wanted the business. I wanted that first aid company. And guess what? That company's still running. It's still making me money. And me and my business partner love that we can still do that. When the pandemic hit, we shifted half of it online and it's still going. I love that. So those 2 years of living on Red, It was worth it. Those weekends where I'd work my 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then have to do studying on Saturday and Sunday, it was worth it. When we first started the business, I was working all week, so I would do all my first day training on the weekend. So I would literally work a 7-day week. Nothing lasts forever if you've got a plan. Nothing lasts forever if you've got a strategy. I had to go through the hard stuff for it to be easy now. Now when you hear me say, oh, I work part-time and I still make full-time money, do you know what it took to get here? Do you know how much harder I've worked previously to get here? I worked hard because I wanted easy life. I worked my way up to a manager because I didn't want to have to ask anyone, can I take annual leave? I'm the manager. I authorize my annual leave. So yes, you can go, Adele. Yes, Adele. You want that? Yes. They were my choices. A lot of people say to me, I would never be a manager. I would hate to be it. Okay, cool. Then you're always going to have to ask someone what annual leave you can take. These are choices. If you don't want to do that and you don't want to be a manager, maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. But then people say to me, I don't want to run my own business. That's fine, but these are your choices. Don't complain about the choices you're choosing. Don't complain about what you've decided your life is going to be like. I'm a mum because I didn't choose celibacy. No other reason. And then when I got pregnant, I wanted my baby. That's my choice, and I stand on that. I wouldn't change it for the world. My daughter made me stronger. She made me want to go harder. If I didn't have a daughter, I might not have a business. I now have 2 businesses, and I own shares in another company. That's because my daughter motivated me. I wanted her life to be nothing like the life that I lived, and I kept my promise. But it wasn't always easy. Let's empower ourselves and stop finding reasons or people to blame or saying that someone. There was a lot of energy put into that whole statement. A lot of people came for that girl and were like, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. I bet you haven't been using that same energy to make your dreams a reality. A lot of the people that was doing that, I bet you haven't been using your same energy that you used to go for that girl. I bet you didn't use it to make your dreams a reality. Let's not find more reasons why we can't. You cannot change your situation if you don't want to. You cannot change your situation if someone else is pulling the strings. And yes, living in a society where pretty privilege, white privilege, these privileges happen means that sometimes, yes, as a Black woman, you can be at a disadvantage. But are you taking advantage of the things that you can take advantage of? Because if it was the case that no Black woman could succeed, you would see no successful Black women. I see successful Black women. I put myself in rooms with other women that look like me. I also put myself in rooms with women that don't look like me because I can learn and they can learn from me. The systems don't change unless you become a part of them. Systems don't change from looking outside. If I'm in the system and I'm managing and I'm running companies, I can afford jobs to people who look like me. I don't only hire people that look like me, but I can afford to be able to do that. I can create diversity in the workforce because I've put myself in a position to be able to. A lot of people are complaining, but they're not trying to change things. They're looking in and saying the system's broken, which it is. I will be the first one to tell you the system is broken. The system is totally broken. Someone did not kneel on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes because we have a good system. The system is fundamentally flawed. What are you doing to change it? Other than complaining for the next 24 hours after you listen to this podcast, I'm not bothered who this triggers at all because I will stand 10 toes down on my choices. Other than complaining, what are you doing to change it? You can't change the systems overnight, but you can change how you look at life and what you choose to do with the time that you do have. You cannot choose the life you're born into. People would not choose to be born in a war-torn country. Who would choose that? No one. You cannot choose the life you're born into. You cannot choose the hand you've dealt. You cannot change the choices you've already made. If you're a single mum or you're a mum or you've got 5 kids, you can't change it. That's where we're at now. What can you do on top of that to make life better if that's what you want? If you're happy with your life, then why would someone making a statement like that be a problem? If you're happy with your choices, why would it be a problem? You cannot choose the life you're born into, but you can decide what steps you choose to take. Akosia, if you're listening, you are a superhero. You inspire me every day. Don't let anyone tell you anything differently. You've raised 5 amazing children. You go to work 5 days a week. You somehow manage to do any extracurricular activities with those kids. You do so much. You are my daughter's godmother. If things have gone wrong before and you've turned up at my house with a gift basket for her, just to cheer her up. And you live just, guys, just so you know, she lives a good hour and 20 minutes away from me. You are so inspiring, but you do it every day, so you don't even realize. If I mention the fact that I've got a best friend who's got 5 children and still works full time, people are like, what? How is that even possible? I say the same thing, guys. How is it even possible? I tell you why. She's not letting the privilege, she's not letting the thought of not being a certain color make her stop. She's not letting the fact that she's a black woman raising 5 kids, 3 of which are boys. She is not letting any of that stop her from going after her dreams. She literally was just in Cape Verde the other day. She's always on a plane, flying here, there, everywhere, and she takes her kids. Let's just speak there. She loves a quick holiday. She loves a bargain. If you want to quit, listen, if I want to get good flights and good hotel prices, I just have to talk to her because she always finds them. We went to Finland because of her for like £30. We stayed in Lapland. Like, it was amazing. My daughter had the time of her life because my best friend found a bargain. Because just because she got 5 kids don't mean they're going to miss out on anything. They're going to stay in nice hotels and go to nice countries. She was just in Dubai. Listen, the pandemic has not stopped this girl. Anywhere she can get to on a flight that they allow her in the country, she's there. She's one of the most spontaneous, fun people I've ever met in my entire life. And she takes the seriousness out of me sometimes because I'm super serious and super organized and I like things done in a certain way. And she just is like, yeah, no one cares about what you're saying, Adele, let's go. And she brings that side out of me. And sometimes I calm her down. Sometimes, every now and again, like she'll call me and be like, okay, I just made a decision. What do you think? And we'll talk it through. But she doesn't worry about what anyone else is saying around her. She's made her choices. She's happy to be a mom of 5 kids. She's made her choices. They're her choices. She don't blame anyone else or use them as excuses. She says, even though I've got 5 kids, these are all the things I do. Even though I've got 5 kids, we still travel the world. So in spite of her situation, she's still living life. Stop using your situation as a reason that you can't live life. It's just an excuse. It's nothing more than an excuse. That's your excuse to not try. That's your excuse not to leave your comfort zone. It's also, for a lot of people, doesn't even need to be an excuse. It's not even an excuse. It's just a choice. You chose it. If you're not happy with it, change it. If you're happy with it, what are you talking about? If you're happy with it, why is it a problem? You should be saying, like, I don't work full time because I'm a mum. No, I can't. I don't work full time because I'm a mum and I want to spend time with my children. I want to be a stay-at-home mum. Why can't you say that? Why can't that be the sentence? Why does the sentence be, I can't because? Like I said, look at women that look like you and are where you want to be as inspiration. Stop worrying about people saying stuff that in your head doesn't make sense. It makes sense to them in their world. Technically, we have the same 24 hours. Realistically, nah. But before you worry about whether we have the same 24 hours, worry about the choices you're making during those 24 hours and how those choices are affecting your life. Don't attack people for their opinions. You cannot educate someone when you're attacking them. They will never understand. There are people in this world that will never understand that them being pretty affords them privileges. Them not being black or not being coloured affords them certain privileges. There are people that will never understand that. There are people that will, but they won't understand it if you're just attacking. Be articulate in the way you are communicating something. Have differences. Oh my gosh, me and my friends will have total differences of opinion and still be good friends. The world shouldn't be made up of one type of people. We're all different. Learn other people's views, understand where they're coming from, so then they'll be willing to understand where you're coming from. Know that the systems don't change overnight. And if you can't get in there and help to break the systems apart, then the systems stay there. Complaining about something will never change it. I've never seen anyone complain their way to success. I've never seen anyone complain their way out of racism, ever. Complaining about it doesn't fix it. What have you done lately? I actually worked with a client recently, and I just want to say this quickly before I end the episode, who, I wouldn't call it reverse racism, because that's probably not the right word, but she's a white woman, and she works in an environment with men from a certain race, And because their culture is different from what she knows, they look down on her and they speak about the fact that she's unmarried and lives with her partner and has a child. And she has to hear those things every day at work. We all can find problems in our life. Honestly, we can. Some of us, our problems are way bigger. And I love having conversations like this because growing up looking like I look, there has been so many hurdles. There has been so many times when I didn't get something because of the colour of my skin. There has been so many times where being a black woman is hard. There's been times when people have really been openly racist to me at jobs, at interviews, in places. There have been those times. And then there's been times where nobody in the room looked like me, but they all spoke positively about me. They helped me get other jobs. They put me in rooms where I didn't even think I could ever be, especially without a degree, especially looking the way I look. They gave me opportunities. Opportunities that I will forever be grateful for because the opportunities changed my life. And those people didn't look like me. I've been in rooms with people that look just like me and they've given me opportunities. The difference is I have never blamed anyone for my choices. The 24 hours I've had every day leading up to this point, I have made specific choices that got me here. There are days I haven't been willing to do what I should have been doing to get the things I wanted to do. Slow progress is better than no progress. For some people, taking 2 years to get to where they want is happiness. For some people, 10 years is happiness. For some of us, I want it in a year because I want what I want when I want it. None of these people are wrong. Not one of us is wrong. The thing that's wrong is us judging the other people because they chose to do it a different way. The thing that's wrong is us getting triggered and upset because someone says something we didn't like, but actually what they said was kind of true. The choices you make determine your outcome, especially when you live in a first world country. When your choices are taken away from you, that's when we don't have the same 24 hours, when our choices are removed. When we let the system beat us and we forget that there are so many other women who look like us who have beat the system, so many women who look like us that are in places of power and continue to try and work hard to get there. Yes, the world is behind. Yes, the world is slow, but complaining about it ain't going to change it. So I love you guys, I do. And I hope this conversation has helped someone to really look in themselves and understand that yes, there are things in the system that slow us down, but there are things that we choose that also slow us down. So own your part. You can't change the system, but you can change the part you play in your life. That's all I'm asking. Own your part. Again, we don't all have the same 24 hours in the sense that we don't all live the same lives. Technically, we have the same 24 hours. Realistically, how we've chosen to live those 24 hours is different. How we'll continue to live those 24 hours is different. Embrace your choices, empower yourself, and stand 10 toes down on every decision you've ever made. You can't undo the decision. You can make it better, though, if it's not what you want. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. Enjoy your day, guys. I've loved recording 2 podcasts back to back today. One was like an hour or so when I interviewed my old client, and then this one. I stand 10 toes down on my decisions. I stand 10 toes down on this podcast episode. You get to choose and own your choices. Please don't think, based on anything I've said, that I'm diminishing the struggles that Black women have to go through. I know that we have to run faster, jump higher, push through barriers that we don't even know are there, but we know are there. We don't see them, but we know they're there. I've always had to work harder, jump higher, try harder, but you're never going to tell me that the colour of my skin means I cannot achieve. It means it will be harder, that I will agree with. If you say to me being a Black woman makes it harder for me to achieve some of the things I want, hell yes. But does it mean I can't achieve them? Listen, I've only ever been a Black woman. I only know how I work. Only know how I operate. I've never been a white woman. I don't know what a white woman goes through on a daily basis. I only know what I go through. Therefore, I'm not going to let anyone diminish the fact that I can still achieve. I have 24 hours a day and I can use them the way I want. I can use them wisely to get me closer to the things I want. Women who came before me made it easier for me to be able to achieve. Black women that came before me had way more struggles, and the ones that came before that had even more struggles. All we can pray is that every generation it gets easier, and I'm not diminishing that. I am never going to say that you will not have barriers, but what I will say is if you're saying that you've never seen a successful 24-year-old who's making money and doing her thing as a Black person, then you're in the wrong rooms, and I'm sorry for you. Because there are women who look just like us achieving immense things. They're doing it with kids, they're doing it without kids. They're doing it coming from struggle, and they're doing it not coming from struggle. There are women winning who look like us. Why are you not looking at them and saying, you know what, I got the same 24 hours a day as them. Why the hell am I not where I want to be? Again, I can only talk to you from what I know. I have never been any other color than the color I am today. So the level I have to work at, the barriers I have to push through, it's all I've ever known. I don't know anything else. So rather than worrying about all the extra stuff I've got to do, I'm doing the work to get what I want and then change it for my daughter and the generations coming. Every generation can push through barriers and make it a little bit better for the next one and hope that they carry the torch. I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and career. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.